Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. This is going to be another episode of Two Sides of the Same Coin, and we're going to talk about transmissions today. Okay, some of you have been asking, Prince Magnum, what's better, automatic or manual? Well, I think it really comes down to what do you like? See, it depends on the build and what you're going to be doing with the project. Here again, we have two Mavericks, both of them going in two different directions. The builds are different, but they're kind of the same. You know, things like suspension and whatnot. Engines are even pretty much exactly the same. But one has an automatic, the other one has a manual. So, Prince Magnum, what's better, automatic or manual? Well, let me give you an idea of what you're dealing with. I'm going to shut up for just a moment and let you watch a few flybys, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, let's start off with manual transmissions. Standard transmission, driving stick, whatever you want to call it. But manual transmissions have been around for years, long before we had automatics. Manuals are the best way to get power to the rear end. Um, they're much better when it comes to, snowy weather, wet weather, whatever the case may be. They have a lot of benefits. They're lighter than automatics, and they have less slippage because with an automatic, it requires pressure to build up to get the clutches to shift. Whereas with a manual, you tell it to shift. However, there's also some downfalls. When you have to replace a clutch, it can get kind of pricey if you take it to a shop. Also, it's also a pain in the neck to do when you have to do it yourself. A lot of parts have to be replaced, and it can get it can be a real pain in the neck. But overall, manuals are nice when, it comes to gas mileage. Drive in town a lot, and you'll cuss said manual. Depends on how you feel. Me personally, I do like my manuals, and when it comes to doing some serious hot rodding, manuals are fun. Myself personally, I love the 3-speed manual, but it really limits Spirit's capabilities. Now, eventually I'm going to poke around and find an old 4-speed manual and bring it up to what I consider it should be. And it'll be pretty cheap compared to what an automatic would be. But would it be worth it? Yes. Because I'm going to get an extra gear. I'm going to go with a good old 4-speed manual with external linkage. Probably something that you would have seen in the 60s to close to the late 70s. That's what I like. Now some of you might be saying, why not a 5-speed or a 6-speed? Well, that's too many gears for my liking. I like a good 4-speed, nothing wrong with it. The extra gear will give me a higher top end, a top speed, and that extra gear when driving normally will give me better gas mileage. Overall, you won't be able to beat it with a stick. Well, I guess you could, but that'd be kind of ridiculous. So, that's what I'll be going with. All total, I should spend no more than about $800. Sounds like a pretty nice setup. However, let's flip it on the other side, and we'll take a look at it from the standpoint of an automatic. Okay, now we've just got through talking about manuals. Automatics are a different creature all themselves. They still have gears and they still have clutches. But as the engine turns, and RPMs raise, pressure builds up inside the transmission, telling it when to shift. Not a horribly bad deal. However, because it has to rely on pressure from the transmission, from transmission fluid, power doesn't get to the rear end as well. And um, because of all the extra fluid and things like that, and just different things like that, those transmissions weigh a lot more. You lose a lot of power and a lot of gas mileage. However, there are some upsides to automatics. If you live in town and you do a lot of in-town driving and a lot of stop and go, your left foot will thank you for having an automatic. The drivability of an automatic is great, and up until Project Spirit, all of my cars have been automatic. I've done a lot of cool things with automatics, and, I had even won quite a few street races with automatic. So there's nothing wrong with an automatic. But do bear in mind, when anything goes wrong with said automatic, well, it gets pricey. I've actually had a 350 turbo rebuilt for that was bolted to that 283 that went in my 77 Olds Delta. I had it rebuilt to my specifications with B&M shift improvement kit and all that good stuff. Well, guess what? It shifted fantastically, but I spent $1,000 to have it all done. And that doesn't include buying the transmission. So overall, it cost me an arm and a leg. Something to think about. But, once again, if you like the drivability of an automatic, you can't beat it. Automatics are great transmissions if you get the right one. When we go to do anything to make improvements to Project Vera's automatic, well, that's a whole nother story. She's going to probably get a B&M shift improvement kit. She'll be gone through, and most likely she'll probably end up with an aluminum transmission pan with fins in it to help with cooling, and she'll have a drain plug, making maintenance a lot easier. Overall, we'll spend probably $1,000 to $1,500 making her a much more solid running vehicle to ensure that she gets the best out of her automatic. Nothing wrong with it, a little bit more money, but Princess Faye will appreciate it more. So, if automatic is your way to go, you might want to consider that particular route. Now for the big question. Can you swap between the two transmissions? And the answer is yes. If you have a car that started its life off with an automatic and you want to put a manual in, you can do that. However, if you're going to go from an automatic to a manual, you're going to have to get the pedals. The brake pedal and the clutch pedal are together. And you're going to need to cut the hole in the floor, and you've got to get your big body up underneath that tiny space of a dash to work on this. It's not very much fun. But if you're going to go from a manual to an automatic, well, that's a lot easier because you can turn right around and leave that extra pedal just sitting there, not bothering nobody. It's just sitting there. You could even go so far as to kind of tie it back, and it's out of the way. Doesn't bother anyone, and it just sits there. It can collect as much dust as you want. Me personally, if I wanted to take Spirit and turn her into an automatic, I can do that. But if Faye turned around and said she wanted to go turn Vera into a manual, I tell her she's getting under the dash and doing that work. I'm not going to do it. So, if your thing is that it just depends on what you're going to do with the vehicle. Depends on what you want to, what you like and that sort of thing. My standard belief is if you like automatics and you want the best out of them, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money. That's okay. You can do that. Just know that beforehand, you're going to spend some money. But if you're going in the market for a good automatic, do me a favor. Stay away from 4-speed automatics. They just don't hold up very well compared to, say, a 3-speed automatic. And if you go with a 2-speed automatic, well, you're going to run into problems. They just don't have the pulling capability as a 3-speed. they're great for the drag strip, and they hold up fantastically there. But when you put them out on the road for everyday use, they're gas hogs. So just unless you're going to be doing a full-on restoration or you're going to be drag racing, just stay with a good 3-speed automatic. If you're going to go with a good manual, do me a favor. Find something that fits your needs. Do be forewarned. If you start going into where you're going to be using 5 and 6 speeds in a classic car, heads up, 7 up. You're going to be running into things like, retrofitting and things like that. If you're willing to take the time and the effort, then it's worth the build. Me personally, I'm going to stick with a good solid 4-speed, because then I can easily turn right around and tell everybody I got a 4 on the floor. Sounds a lot nicer. All that being said, I'm going to give you kind of all a real funny clip real quick, and then we'll end it in the usual manner. That brings us to the end of this video. Like if you would, subscribe if you would. This is the Prince Magnum channel after all. Get out there and work on a project, and above all, if nobody has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.